Imagine a front line that has been locked in a bloody, static stalemate for years suddenly shattering like glass. On February 23, 2026, the Ukrainian commander-in-chief, Oleksandr Syrskyi, dropped a geopolitical haymaker that has left the Kremlin in a state of total panic. In just 1 month, Ukraine hasn't just gained ground. They have deleted the very foundation of Putin's 2026 strategy. We are talking about 400 square kilometers of liberated territory and 8 key settlements reclaimed in the southeast. While Putin was bragging about a firm strategic initiative, the Ukrainian military was busy mainlining a counteroffensive that has reversed months of Russian gains in a matter of weeks. This isn't just a push. It's a systematic execution of a military superpower that forgot how to talk to itself. The technical gore of this collapse started on February 4th, when a Russian ghost network went dark. The Starlink Blackout is next. The bulk of this push happened in the Oleksandrivka sector. To the untrained eye, this is just a small village. But in the world of Origin Untold, Oleksandrivka is the holy grail of geography. It sits at the absolute intersection of 3 massive oblasts, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Dnipropetrovsk, plus 1. By liberating the specific sector, Ukraine has cut the main line between Russian logistics. Putin intended to use this ground as a jumping-off point for a massive summer 2026 offensive. Now, those launching pads are gone. The settlements of Nechevka, Pishchain, and Novzaporizhia are back under the yellow and blue flag, turning a Russian offensive zone into a Ukrainian kill zone. The most brutal technical gore of this offensive happened behind the scenes. On February 4th, 2026, SpaceX remotely deactivated thousands of contraband Starlink terminals that Russian forces had been using illicitly. This was a tactical earthquake. Russian strike effectiveness dropped by 20 to 40% overnight. Commanders were suddenly blind. They couldn't see their drone feeds. They couldn't coordinate their artillery. Intercepted transmissions revealed Russian soldiers screaming into dead radios as Ukrainian airborne units began their assault. When invisible threads of communication snapped, the Russian front didn't just bend, it collapsed. Plus 2, while Ukraine moves with systematic precision, Russia is stuck in a 1940s loop. According to NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, speaking at the Munich Security Conference in mid-February, Russia has lost 65,000 soldiers to death or injury in just the first 2 months of 2026. This is the Bakhmut tier meat grinder on a global scale. Putin is throwing cannon fodder at fortified Ukrainian positions in a desperate attempt to show momentum for his internal propaganda. But at a loss rate of 35,000 men per month, the Russian military is literally cannibalizing its future to buy a few meters of scorched earth. General Syrskyi didn't use a human wave. He used technical gore. The 82nd and 95th Air Assault Brigades pioneered a new doctrine, drone-first clearing. Visual, 3D animation, Ukrainian drone swarm suppressing Russian trenches followed by mechanized clearing. First, Ukrainian long-range drones and FPVs zero out every Russian artillery piece and bunker. Then, once the enemy is deaf, dumb, and blind, the elite airborne units move in with mechanized support to clean up the stragglers. It's clinical, it's professional, and it's the reason Ukraine retook more land in February than they have in the last 2 years combined. For months, Putin has been trying to drip off-brand honey into the ears of U.S. mediators, claiming a Russian victory is inevitable. He wants the U.S. to force Ukraine into a peace deal that rewards his aggression, but this counteroffensive has shattered that narrative. You don't collapse on a major front if you're winning. The Wall Street Journal and ISW Institute for the Study of War have both noted that Ukraine's gains prove that the Russian mighty bear is actually a snafu machine moving at a snail's pace. Every square kilometer liberated is a signal to Washington that Ukraine is a long way from being out of the fight. Ukraine's goal in the southeast isn't just about soil, it's about industrial-scale attrition. By pushing in Oleksandrivka, Ukraine is forcing Putin to deploy his reserve forces months before he wanted to. Instead of preparing for a summer strike, Russian reserves are being fed into a defensive meat grinder to stop a collapse. This is asymmetric initiative. Ukraine is choosing the time and place of the fight, forcing Russia to burn through manpower, armor, and ammunition just to keep their lines from totally evaporating. Because of these staggering losses, the Kremlin is now panicking. Reports from late February suggest Russia is moving toward an involuntary rolling call-up. The volunteers have dried up. The elite units are gone. Now, Russia is pushing civilians who don't want to fight into the gaps Ukraine is creating. This creates a neurobiological stress within the Russian ranks. When you have unmotivated conscripts facing off against battle-hardened Ukrainian airborne units, you get the exact disaster we saw in the southeast this month. Ukraine isn't just taking land. They are building a high-tech fortress. Every liberated settlement is being converted into a kill zone. We're talking about 20-kilometer deep zones layered with dragon's teeth, anti-tank ditches, and thousands of drones launched from underground tunnels. Ukraine knows a Russian summer push is coming, and they are ensuring that Russia will have to bleed for every single inch. It's an offense for the sake of defense. The southeast front line didn't just collapse. It was deleted by a military that is evolving faster than its adversary. Russia thought they could own the war with numbers, but they learned in February 2026 that in the modern age, if you can't communicate, you can't survive. The summer offensive Putin promised is now a spring nightmare. This is the Origin Untold. To see the black budget tech currently deleting armor in the Ukraine frontline collapse, watch our latest report on the Aerotroll. And for the $2 billion Ghost that provides the ultimate delete button from the stratosphere, check out the B-2 Spirit Bomber. Join the inner circle. Hit subscribe